Welcome to the Pocket Protectors. I'm Alex Bratton, founder of the Net Squad. Today we have Mike Bogovich, author of Professional Java Data, Jeff Meredith, a technology reporter for iStreet Magazine, Robert Jacoby, founder of ASIC, and Jim Carlini of Carlini & Associates. And today's starting topic is we're going to be talking about India. Robert, many companies today are outsourcing their software development and their technology infrastructure to India. How are the instabilities in this region really affecting the U.S. technology market as a result of that?
Well, outside of the already occurring project management difficulties, now you have to worry about your developers being nuked, for lack of a better phrase. The economic instability, the political instability. I would not send any critical projects to India.
What are the alternatives?
Do it in-house. There's plenty of with the cheap labor market now in the States from all the failed .coms. There's plenty of people you can get at a very reasonable price. I don't know about $4 an hour wages, but
$4 an hour, is that really what folks are getting in India?
Give or take.
Alex, you should definitely set up shop in Argentina. People are desperate for jobs there. 23% unemployment. If you're in the IT sector there, I mean, they have a game show where you actually get a job. It's not Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Why not set up shop in Argentina? But Eastern Europe as well. A lot of companies I'm hearing from set up in Kiev, Ukraine. Obviously India is a site of instability, and I think right now a lot of companies before 9/11 was a no-brainer to set up shop there, and now it's not so certain.
Well, no-brainer. I'm not sure if that's exactly the case. It's more like I'll save a few bucks by sending it out there.
No-brainer for them, not necessarily good for us.
Absolutely.
Well, doesn't that provide you the opportunity to have really a 24-hour workforce and be able to ship work back and forth? Isn't that one of the advantages that's touted?
Oh, I'm not so sure about that. I think it was price. I think they tried commoditizing software development.
I think it's price, but the whole thing is that from a strategic standpoint, people never realize that something could happen in India. And it's not just programming, it's also call centers. A lot of people have looked
but that same stuff can happen here, though. In terms of, obviously, we've had terrorist attacks here. There's instability here.
But
What's the difference?
I would make you a bet that no company that has contracted for call center services out in India has even asked any questions about reliability or redundancy from a standpoint of, what happens if the call center goes down. How much redundancy do you have built in over there? I doubt if they have the same standards and the same levels of reliability that we have here in the United States.
So you're saying folks here in the U.S. are asking those reliability questions?
They aren't.
What happens?
No, they aren't.
So people aren't asking those questions in general, and as a result,
they're just
more
looking at
risk
price.
here.
They're just looking at price, as you said. They're just looking at price, and they say, "Oh, this is a lot cheaper. Let's put all the different mission-critical applications out there." And I sincerely think that most companies have not looked at, what happens if everything turns off. Same thing with UPS. Everybody had all the stuff shipped out with UPS. Who'd have thought that UPS would ever go on strike? Then it's too late.
Now, we've had a common refrain here of cheaper, cheaper, cheaper.
Yeah.
Why can't we do this cheaper here?
Well,
we have laws.
Well, we have this thing called this cost of living.
Minimum wage.
With some of the H-1Bs that you're finding it cheaper, of course, they have to pay 95% of the prevailing wage. But then again, what is the prevailing wage? And by that definition,
why isn't a Lexus $5,000? Why isn't a Mercedes $7,000? I mean, if nobody has to make that much money if everything else doesn't cost much.
But what is the definition of cheaper, though? Are we focusing purely on the hourly rate that someone can get something done, or what's the real total cost of ownership? How does that affect developing something here versus overseas?
Labor is a big issue. If you look at costs of ownership, it's the equipment, it's the infrastructure, but a huge part is labor. And when you talk about 3 shifts of labor here in the United States, we're talking about substantially more money than you would in India. But the whole thing is, what happens if my call center goes out in India? Then what?
Are these sweatshops that we're talking about? Is that really the level of labor that we've got, or are these trained individuals stepping into these projects?
They're trained individuals, but all your cost savings from cheaper hourly labor is getting killed by the project management difficulties, and people having to do it 2 or 3 times over. So you're really not saving yourself that much of a buck.
What sort of difficulties are you talking about there?
There's the direct communication link. We can talk to our developers one-on-one, have meetings around a table, and discuss issues. It doesn't matter how much you email, how much you instant message, you can't get that level of productivity over a 12-hour time delay.
So it's a productivity issue. I haven't heard the word quality from anyone yet.
Well,
Where does quality stand?
That's next.
Well, the quality is it's a child of productivity. The quality of the software doesn't accrue because of the time it takes to develop it.
No, there's an old adage: cheap, faster, good. Pick 2. and that's what we have
Yeah.
here. Cheap, fast,
Last
and good.
rung of the ladder is quality.
Right, right. Quality doesn't make an appearance, and it's something where people say, "Oh, we can cut costs," and people are incented. Executive management is incented of, if you can cut costs, we'll give you a bonus of $5 million. So what do? They send things across to a different place where the cost of living, labor rates are cheaper. But I think quality or reliability, those are secondary issues. And the whole thing, you need to have something. If something happens, then people say, "Oh, geez, why do we do it this way?"
So what's going to change this here in corporate America, or is this going to change? Mike, is this the direction things are headed, that we're going to keep branching out to newer countries to get the cheap labor?
I'm not sure. Actually, I guess the question back to everyone else would be, what other countries would we go to? And another thing to consider as well is just the amount of software piracy and, I guess, unethical behavior within a lot of these other countries. Some of the bigger countries that have software piracy, Russia, China, India. I mean, are you going to go and outsource your, very, mission critical project out to one of these countries, and they're going to go and take your intellectual property and may sell to the highest bidder? Because if it's all about money, it's going to be all about money to them too.
Exactly.
And that's something we talked a little bit about last week, Jeff.
Yeah.
Are we really talking about the same areas of countries here? It sounds like it in terms of India,
Heavy
Ukraine,
crossover
Russia.
with the strongest piracy rates in the countries we're outsourcing to. Which
Now,
is,
is that something to do with the standard of living there? We're saying that not only affects the labor rates we can get writing the software, but that they're more likely to pirate?
The culture of integrity sometimes is missing in that. I wouldn't be shocked to see it actually backfire for a lot of these companies. I mean, trying to do something cheaply may come back to haunt you.
Well, what you're missing on, though, these countries are also, I'm going to throw this out there, heavily communist, Polish, socialist histories. The politics aren't necessarily conducive to intellectual property, generating wealth through that, and ownership in a sort of a corporate sense, as opposed to, oh well, everyone's got it, everyone can take it, who cares?
And the legal mechanisms aren't there for the countries to actually have any sort of restitution in these cases either. So that's